Howdy, all you collector car fans out there. This is once again Jason, the owner and founder of Southern Bush Motorsports. I get asked a lot how I used to get these cars out of the bush. Well, meet Old Orange. Old Orange is a 1976 F-250 Camper Special Highboy. It had 3 gas tanks, and what I did is I had actually driven this truck all the way from British Columbia, Canada, to South Carolina. It was quite a wild trip over a summertime, but what I did is when I got this truck to South Carolina, look at that tiny little bit of snow right there. They shut down the entire school system in South Carolina because South Carolina didn't know what to do. It was just the funniest thing. But what this truck was is Old Orange was converted from a beat up old really rare truck to, I took a 2004 F-250 interior and drivetrain and converted it all over to this truck. A lot of work. I wish I had more pictures of the work, but unfortunately you just get to see the final project here. She was a little rough, but it was a very solid big truck, and we used to call Old Orange the Extractor because this truck was trailered into situations where I had to get a lot of cars out of the woods and stuff, and the reason I would go to the expense and effort to bring in Old Orange is because Old Orange had a 490 cubic inch Ford motor. Just absorb that for a second because that's a big damn motor. And it had all-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive. Look at the interior in that. That's from a 2000 something truck. Really, it was a beautiful truck, but it had a 490 cubic inch motor that I had a 16-port nitro system put on just to be able to pull these cars out. I remember after I had finished this truck, probably a week after, I was asleep in my place out in the woods there, and I lived on a kind of a compound when I first got to South Carolina because, I didn't really know much. And I remember there was an 18-wheeler that had come down this dirt road for whatever reason and got stuck. And everybody had all day been trying to figure about this, what to do with this truck, or how to get this truck out. And I remember it was the funniest thing because I just walked out when I heard all the commotion and fired up Old Orange, grabbed a hold of the back end of the truck, pulled it all the way up the road, and the guy was like, "What the hell is in that thing? How come it was making so much hissing noise?" And I said, "Because they had a 16-port nitro system on it." Basically, I took an old diesel, a Mercedes diesel engine, and they have a rail system in it for the diesel injection, which is ingenious, but it allows for the 16 ports that I drilled into this engine. So I got a 490 cubic inch Ford engine with 16 port nitrous, and this truck I named the Extractor because I went to the expense to bring in Old Orange on my really tough lines like this one. These cars had no wheels on them. I mean, look at this. Hundreds of cars. Some of them are super rare. How am I going to get these cars out? Can't just bring in a tow truck to get these out. They have to be dragged out. Right here, you see me standing there, flashing my gun and all that stuff, but I got that car onto the trailer because of Old Orange. That thing was buried so far in the wood. Look at that Challenger. That thing's got so much kudzu on it. How are you supposed to get that out? This is why I would bring in Old Orange to drag these cars out. Look at this right here. Hundreds of cars, as far as you can see. How do you think I got these cars out of here? It wasn't because a local tow truck came in. No, I had an all-wheel drive vehicle. This is in Effingham, South Carolina. These cars were so buried that even the owner gave up on them. But when I bring in Old Orange, hook up my winches, run that NOS, I can get them out. I don't like to use the nitrous button when I'm pulling these cars up. 57 Chevy Bel Air convertible. That car had been parked there. I remember when I had found that it had already parked there for 9 or 10 years. It was a 69 Charger. But I don't like to use the nitrous when I'm pulling cars out unless I have to because it's very corrosive on a motor. And it's tough on especially an old truck like that. But I mean, what am I supposed to do? Look at that car is buried with no tires. Even if you could get a tire on it, it's still not going to roll. Not only I didn't like using nitrous because stuff was like $85 a pound in the bottles, but it's pretty corrosive on the motor. But look at that 57 Chevy Bel Air. I mean, I really only pulled that car because it was parts, but now we're getting into some pretty deep stuff right there. That car right there, look at how buried that thing is. That thing's been sitting there for a long time. So is that car right there. No tow truck's going to get that stuff out. I mean, possibly, some of these tow truck drivers are really skilled, but you needed brute force. I mean, that one right there, that Duster's not that bad, but you needed brute force, and this is why I modified my 1976 F-250 Camper Special Highboy, converted it over to the entire drive system from an all-wheel drive. I think it was a 2001 or something like that. But, I mean, look at these cars right here. They're in the woods. I had to. I had to do it. I had to have a vehicle that would pull these cars out. This car right here is buried so far in the woods that the guy didn't even know the cars were there. Like, I had to have some sort of a system to be able to get these cars out. So I had no other choice but to convert this old truck that I had driven down from Canada originally. Boy, that was a wild summer driving that truck down there. I know a lot of people aren't going to listen to the whole story of some of my videos, but 57 Chevy Bel Air convertible, that was after I dug the car out. That right there, I think I dug these cars out just for the parts. But it takes brute force to get some of these cars uplifted from the ground. That was like a super complete, I think it was the 72 Chevelle, but the thing was buried, and like, it's just either you have a problem and you deal with it or not. If you wonder where all these old station wagons went to this place right here in South Carolina, it's just incredible. But when you have cars that are so far buried that you can barely get them out, instead of me for a long time, I paid a lot of people with tow trucks and stuff to come and take these cars out. It cost me so much money because a lot of these guys were inexperienced and didn't know how to take these things out. So when I converted old orange, so when you got this many cars like this that are piled in, stacked back to back, I mean, a car like that, we got no wheels on it, things rotted all the heck. You have to have an extraction vehicle. And I was the only one that was doing this, and it cost me a lot of money. There's that 57 Chevy Bel Air convertible I told you about before. Safely on a trailer. It's on its way to Al Gutierrez, the godfather of lowriders. And this Firebird right here, there's a specific reason why I had spent the money to build this truck, because it was like, how are you going to get that car out of there? That car is buried with a ton of other stuff beside it. It's sitting down in the ground. Look at this thing. This thing's so buried. That was the 69.5 liftoff of Super V. I mean, I got to get the thing out of there, but how am I supposed to do that? Look at that, right there. Built into the forest, trees all around it. How am I supposed to get these cars out? Well, this is what Old Orange was for. And I hated traveling around with this big truck, but basically I would only get my staff to load the truck up if it was, a big job. The cars needed to be pulled from an area. All these cars right here, that 70 446 back 4-speed Superbird, was buried inside of a mountain. I mean, look at how far deep into this building this is. It was crazy. How am I supposed to pull these cars out that have been sitting for 30 years? You need brute force. And the other thing you got to understand is, with me having to bring in this big truck and all that stuff to get cars like this Mustang out, it's because my passion to get these cars saved was so strong. I mean, look at that. This is a Cyclone 428 Cobra Jet car. I'm not going to leave that car there. I got to get the car out, but it's so buried. Look at this building. This building is full of some of the rarest Mopars in the world. One of one cars, almost the whole building. But I needed something to get them out. And this is where Old Orange came in. And it was a lot of expense to trailer this big truck because, it's tough to go underneath overpasses and all that. But, at the end of the day, I've got to get these cars out. I need a way to get them out. And Old Orange was the way. Oh, this is a picture of some of the last remaining mod top material in the world. That is a factory piece of mod top material. But look at these cars, just completely buried. You know, these cars have been sitting there in this junkyard for 30 years. How do you think I got them out? I got them out because I had a vehicle that was strong enough to pull them out. You can't, like I said before, you can't do this with a simple tow truck. So having a truck like this was definitely essential, and I mean, it's tough to justify the expense to trailer this truck out to whatever situation that I was in, but I mean, look at that car right there. That's a 428 Cobra Jet Cyclone. I'm not leaving that car in that field. But how do I get it out? It's got no wheels on it. Again, 428, I think it was 428 Torino. How am I going to get the car out of there when it's got no wheels on it? You got to be able to have the power to yank it out. Well, thanks for coming by and checking out our Tales from the Bush. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and please donate to the Patreon page if you can.